For September the 24th, 2021, we talk about Gas Station Simulator, The Great Ace Attorney Adventures, and Bloodwash. Welcome to Level 386. My name is Cole Ross.
I'm David Maysmith.
I'm Jala Prendes.
And I'm Ben Merkel.
And you're listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. It is not the 21st as of the time you're hearing this, but it is the 21st as of the time I'm saying this. Happy 21st of September.
Yay!
Yeah.
Is that sort of special day?
Is it just the song?
Yeah. It's the day from the song September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. But thanks to that one guy who makes those videos every year, it's kind of become this weird, sweet holiday where everybody can remember how good that song is.
Yay!
Yeah.
I have two friends who got married on this day 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
Very cool.
Nice. Yeah. Welcome back, Jala.
Thank you. I'm here.
Yeah. How you doing?
I'm tired.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we had another hurricane thing and it blew through, and thankfully it mostly just blew and then blew through, and then it was okay. Like, the storm damage was not fun to clean up solo, but so it goes.
Yeah.
But as I've mentioned previous times, we have been doing so much work on trying to cut the trees and stuff that there wasn't so much of the tree left to, fall anywhere except for just like twigs and leaves and stuff. So, that's good. So anyway, that happened. I don't know. It's still hot. It was like the feels like today was like 106 again.
Oh,
and I'm
God.
just like, I'm over it, because it kind of sent me into fits, because we had a tree that was covering up over the top of my office, and it was starting to give me some shade in the summer.
Nice.
Meaning it wasn't blisteringly hot to the point that like I was sweating even with the air on and the fan on and everything. But like now, because I wasn't the one who cut it back into nothingness, but my dad basically decided that we needed to cut it to 90% of the way. And so there's nothing covering my office anymore. And that means next summer is going to be a nightmare. And I'm already spazzing about it. And, meanwhile, my parents are just like, oh, well, that's not until next year. We don't have to worry about that right now. I'm like, I'm worried about it. Dude, it doesn't get cold here for a long time. And it's going to have heat waves even during the quote unquote fall.
Yeah.
We have had plenty of Christmases that have been shorts and tank tops weather. So,
right.
it's not going to be cool. So anyway, I got to figure out something, because next year is going to be rough.
So is there any, can you cover it in, tinfoil or something?
I guess. I don't know. Actually, no, I think the HOA would probably have a problem with that. So,
what they don't know won't hurt them.
Oh, they would be able to tell, with all the bright, shining, gleaming. Anyway, so that's my fiasco. How's everybody else doing?
Yeah, how you doing, David?
Bobbing and weaving.
As always.
Sometimes I'm feeling a little whatever, and I'm weaving and bobbing.
Oh my.
Yeah. Take it and turn it. Yeah. Got anything cool going on?
Actually, a question is, apparently down here there's a saying that describes someone as feeling froggy.
Yeah.
What does that mean to my Midwestern folks?
When I hear somebody saying I'm kind of froggy, so a regular human would say, "Oh, you got you got some crud in your throat, like you feel like you've got something coming. You're coming down with something." Yeah.
So that's what it means to me. Apparently, here, at least in Alabama and Mississippi, that means you feel like you want to hop to it. You've got a lot of extra energy.
It's basically like you're jumpy, you're energetic, or you are anxious to do something. But like, there's also the other version of that where it's like, no, you're feeling pretty randy. That's the other version of that. So
okay.
depending upon what version you're talking about, but yeah, like the general, let's say PC version of that is just that you want to leap on whatever task you're setting for yourself or whatever.
Right, right.
Feeling froggy, then leap. That's kind of the
gotcha. Okay,
there.
that's more wholesome.
Yeah. So that's like one of the big, that is my Midwest versus Deep South cultural misunderstanding for the week.
Huh. So that, I mean, the definition that I gave, is that recognizable to you? Is that how you would use or interpret the word froggy?
That's what I'd use it. I'd use it as like feeling sick.
Gotcha. Okay. Yeah, I would do likewise. Froggy is a name. It's a word that Gary and I use as a reference to like, hey, I need to go use the restroom. Specifically, just the idea like, hey, froggy's come a courtin'. We got to go. Just
well,
that
and
just
also,
it is a
pick up
euphemism.
A frog, its defense mechanism is to piss all over you.
Yeah. So
or maybe that's a toad. I don't know.
So either this expression is like full of meaning, or it has absolutely no meaning, and you can just attach any meaning onto it.
Yes. Yeah. Or it's just
I think frogs are the ultimate enigma.
I was going to say it's just that frogs are incredibly multifaceted creatures.
Yeah. I love a frog. I wish that online fascists hadn't ruined frogs. Yeah.
Didn't they take it back though? Isn't that what that documentary is about?
Kind of, yes. Matt Fury has definitely gone on the warpath trying to get Pepe cleaned up and denazified, but there's inertia around it. There's inertia. How you doing, Ben?
Good. Yeah, I'm doing all right. We can leave the topic of Nazis. I'm doing good. I had a friend in town over the weekend. Brian Perk came and visited, so that was fun. We got to play Scythe, so that was a board game I hadn't played in a while, so I was happy about that.
I got a digital version of that.
Communist game, right?
All right. Well, there are two questions. It's the revisionist history type thing where it's like the artwork apparently was stolen, maybe ? Where it's like steampunk, kind of like Eastern Europe revisionist history artwork, and that kind of fits with the game. There's like mechs, but it's like vaguely World War II. Yeah. So, what did you ask, Cole?
Oh, I said I got a digital version of that as part of a bundle, or it was like dirt cheap on a sale, something like that. Is it good?
Oh, sweet. It's a good board game. It's pretty balanced. You got to have the right group of people to play it, I think. Yeah. I
see.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. Nice to get a visit from a friend. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, and he just came up from Portland, right?
He did.
Yeah.
He had a basketball ref training camp, which is industry that I have not really known a lot about. That is kind of interesting. So
yeah. Nice.
Yeah, basketball, I think we've had this conversation. Like any sport like basketball that's semi-contact just confuses the heck out of me.
I'm preaching to the choir here.
Yeah. Especially soccer. Gosh, all the flopping that happens. Or I'm led to believe happens. Is flopping a thing? Am I making that up?
Yeah, I just never understood, like, I know, I thought the way it was is, like, if you got caught cheating, you can just, like, never play again.
In basketball, or?
I thought that's just how sports worked.
No, it's,
Watch any World Cup, and there are plenty of people who take dives.
Yeah. Huh. That's cool. I don't have too much going on. I'm real. I'm happy. So my brother has started. Nothing too good happening. Yeah. No. I just kind of a neat, unexpected thing. My brother has started. So apparently, if you just like look around, you can find local places that auction off Amazon returns. Either in lots or just like specific items or something like that. and I was real kind of jazzed because I managed to get through that, just through like circumstance or whatever, a $450 electric piano for $70.
Oh wow!
Okay.
Yeah,
Rock on.
yeah. So I've got an electric piano here in the office. So
That's awesome.
hell yeah. I'm shit at it. My keyboard lessons are not going well, but
Now, did you at one point play piano? Is this
No,
I
no.
played as a kid, or is this completely new?
this is completely new. This is just me recognizing that that playing music is a good de-stressor. And yeah, I had been playing around. Remember Dennis and I were talking about those Lumi keyboards for a little bit, but those are like small little MIDI controllers. So if you want to do anything with like multiple octaves or want to try doing things with two hands, it's really limited. But $70 is not it's nothing to sneeze at when it comes to this this Yamaha P71 or whatever it is.
That's awesome.
It's neat. So yeah,
Do you have any songs on your to playlist?
I'm mostly learning like video game stuff. Honestly, there's some pop stuff that I'm picking up, but like simple things. So like I just taught myself the core, the to do like Mad World, just real easy, just something that you just kind of work and know. Yeah, mostly video game stuff, and I guess Mad World's even just video game adjacent because of that Gears of War commercial. So yeah.
All the stuff from Ocarina of Time is like nice, easy entry point where sometimes you might just stumble upon playing one of those songs.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, and also like that's just something I do if I'm sitting down, not doing a particular exercise. I will just like think, like just try and find a melody, just kind of like, okay, like what's the dun 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 dun, just work that out. So that's just a way to get familiar with the notes and stuff. Yeah, it's neat. I had not like hit a wall with a guitar. It was just something where like, yeah, that seems like it'd be fun to know how to do. So
Yeah, why not?
yeah. So piano. I have one now.
I always appreciated the piano over the guitar in that the notes are sorted correctly. They're not like staggered by 5. And it's like, oh, I understand a chord now. They're all the same like pattern.
Yeah, yeah. But like it's very strange because like the way that they're staggered by 5 makes it so that you can find any chord you want in pretty much any position on the neck. And once you know that, you're not thinking, oh, I need to play an A, I need to play a C, here's where this goes. You just kind of go and find it, right? Because of those relatives. So like it's kind of like it's like learning math on like an abacus or a slide rule. You just learn the offsets that you need, and those offsets do you a tremendous amount of good. Once you know your boxes and things. So
the instrument I really want to get is a hurdy-gurdy.
Oh yeah. You end up having it's a stringed instrument. It's what, Eastern European, I believe.
Yeah, I think so, and fairly old.
Yeah, it's like a stringed instrument that has a crank.
Right.
But the crank makes it so that it plays these very long, sustained, eerie sounding notes.
Yeah, so it's like theoretically it basically works the same way as like the crank is turning a drum that is basically the same idea as I think as the bow on a violin.
Something like that, yeah. It's providing constant
keys on just like an accordion.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, apparently, like the entry level for a hurdy-gurdy is about $1,000.
You end up like you can buy kits to make your own. I've seen.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I don't know how accessible that is.
Yeah, that'd be cool though.
But they sound real neat, and they're used in like if you hear it, you will say like, oh, I recognize that. That's the instrument that you hear when they're trying to evoke this country, this region of the world. It's one of those ones because of the Eastern European kind of droniness of it. They're neat.
I did not know that existed. That's sweet.
Yeah. So music, music fever, catch it. That's what I have going on. Also, I have video game fever, and the only cure is penicillin. But in the meantime, I will talk about games here with you guys on a regular kind of show. How does that sound?
That sounds exciting. Let's do it.
Yeah. So let's get started with
The Grind.
The Grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Jala, I will let you do the honors and get us started.
Okay, so since the last time I was on, I finished the Great Ace Attorney Adventures, which is the first of the 2 games that are in the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles release for Switch and Steam and everything else. So the last time I mentioned the summation examination mechanic, but I didn't really get into it because I had not played a summation examination as of that point. So I will start by explaining that now.
Okay.
So in this game, just to recap, you have a jury, which is new. That is not something that you had in the other Phoenix Wright games. So
that's disturbing.
Japan's court system is disturbing.
Yeah. So because you have a jury, the jury can at any time during the trial give a verdict. And if all of everybody is suddenly of the verdict of guilty, then you, as the defending attorney, have the right to do a summation examination. And what happens during that is all of the jurors have to succinctly state on what grounds they chose the guilty verdict. And then your point at that point is to pick apart all of these statements selectively in the same fashion that you pick apart witness testimony. That is, by pressing for more information or presenting evidence every once in a while in order to maneuver the entire panel's statements into a contradiction between one and another juror, at which point you can pit one juror's statement against another's and point out flaws in their arguments in order to sway the jury's opinion to where they feel that they need to continue the trial and hear more evidence before making their judgment, because, you know, you have to unravel all of that.
Yeah, you 12 angry men them.
Yeah. So
12 angry
the jurors...
Yeah. Sorry. I'm sorry.
So the jurors can, again, throughout the entire examination process, also change their verdict. So once you have at least 4 jurors that are willing to listen to more evidence, the trial can continue. And now that I got to that part, or after I got to that part, boy, did that happen a lot. Like, there were a couple of trials, well, not a couple of trials. There might have been 2 trials where it happened more than once. The last trial, it definitely happened 2, maybe even 3 times. Oh, wow. Because like it was, you know, back and forth and back and forth. So, and as you can tell by me saying that, the jury will make judgments on the fly for the most arbitrary of reasons. So I guess at this point in England, there weren't any sort of bias screening things happening. So also, what's kind of funny, though, is that former witnesses and other NPCs will reappear on the jury panel. So, like, just because you see somebody in like the second adventure or whatever doesn't mean that they won't suddenly reappear in the 5th adventure. They will come back and they'll suddenly be a juror, and you're like, oh,
this is a horrible conflict of interest. What are you doing?
Yeah, and there's a lot of conflict of interest with these jurors and everything. Like, you know, there was one adventure that involved a stagecoach, or, you know, like one of the coaches, but then one of the people that was on the jury was like the head guy of the coachman's guild or whatever. And it's like, okay, so therefore you're always backing whatever the coach guy says as a witness. Great, because, you know, whatever, you see what I'm saying. So there's like a lot of points where that actually becomes a problem. And then also, because of your prior experiences with the jurors not in the courtroom, or maybe even in the courtroom, some of the witnesses, like I said, come back as jurors. they will be predisposed to not like anything that you say.
Oh God, because you badgered them before?
So then you have to deal with that and have to figure out ways around, all of that. So, so that's a lot of new snags and different things that you have to think about and deal with during the trials. So, at some point, Sherlock Holmes, which David, I don't think you were on the last time when I was first talking about this, were you?
No.
Sherlock Holmes is in this game, and Sherlock Holmes invites Naruhodo, the main character, to set up his office in the attic over his own room at Baker Street. And then we meet Iris Wilson, aka Iris Watson, who is a 10-year-old mechanical genius, who is the daughter of Sherlock's late partner. And
Wait,
Sherlock,
Just to make sure I'm envisioning this right. So there's Baker Street.
Yes.
Then in the attic of that is Sherlock Holmes's place. Then in the attic of that is your place?
Well, in this version, Baker Street, he's not living in the attic. He's living in like a room on the second floor or something. And then the attic is where the attorney guy is.
Okay.
So anyway, Iris has been raised by Sherlock as his own daughter, although he, has told her that he's not her real father and everything.
I'm just trying to imagine how screwed up a person raised by Sherlock Holmes would be.
Well, this Sherlock Holmes is not the Sherlock Holmes from the stories.
Okay.
He's a totally different character, and boy, is he ever fruity. Everybody in this game is very fruity. And when I say fruity, I had linked it in like the level Slack and then also like on my Twitter. There was this old ass series of commercials for IHOP back in the 90s that was for like their breakfast, the Rudy Tooty fresh and fruity breakfast or something. But then like everybody who comes in asking for this breakfast special, like is wearing a bag on their head or like whispering it because it's
they didn't want to say that word.
The weird, upsetting name of that thing. And so like, I'm not going to call it the Rudy Tooty. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
So that leaves fresh and fruity. Fresh is already like a old hip hop slang word. So like not going to use that one. That leaves fruity. And like Sherlock Holmes and many of the characters in this game kind of have that kind of weird fruitiness of like this old ass commercial, and like just the vibe of the commercial is just prevalent everywhere in here because it's goobery. It's very goobery.
Yeah. So just very, very specifically, you are not using it to refer to them as like effeminate or anything like that.
No. Like they're like the fruit is everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's also like the juicy, like, well, not the juicy fruit. God, what was it? Amazing Fruit. The Amazing Fruit commercials where they had the conga line of gummy bears. Like, just the word fruit in commercials in particular in my brain, just like, boy, it's got like a whole gamut of just weird.
It's a stripe of
weird.
Yeah, and it's loaded with connotations. Yeah.
Yeah, just like all these connotations of just like this kind of, I don't even have a succinct way to explain it. It's just kind of goofy.
Okay.
Goofy, goobery. I don't know. So anyway, in the later chapters, there's more development of the overarching narrative that I was kind of going into a little bit more last time, including a pretty deep crisis where Naruhodo finds out that he defended somebody who was actually guilty. And I won't go into detail about that, but the whole thing blows up at some point, and a lot of things start happening where the first game leaves off with a lot of unresolved stuff, and then also other things that are resolved. So it's kind of like, it feels like a complete game in and of itself, but then it also feels like there definitely is the setup for the sequel, and it needs to be played in order to feel satisfied by the entire unit. So
how long was the first game?
That's hard to tell because the Switch doesn't give you an exact play clock.
Okay.
I would say each of the different adventures is approximately 3 hours, with the last one being probably 4 hours, a little bit longer. So there's 5 total adventures. So, you can do the math on that. But anyway,
How Long to Beat puts the length of both games at about 30 hours.
Okay, so yeah.
So when you say that, like, one of the big plot twists is, he finds out he represents someone who is guilty.
Yeah.
Like, is this a game that understands that that's kind of the job of a defense attorney?
Yeah, but the whole point here is that Naruto has scruples and like morals, and he wants to believe in the clients because the clients are innocent. And like the reason why I like the fact that this was in this game is because that puts Naruto into a really bad position when later on another trial that he's working on has to do with the trial where he was defending somebody who was actually guilty of a thing. And it puts his position in dire jeopardy, and actually other people's positions in dire jeopardy as well, because of just the relatedness of those two cases. So, yeah, it actually turns into a kind of crisis of stuff going on. But remember when I was playing the first Ace Attorney, and I was just like, I want him to have somebody who's actually guilty that he has to defend and have to deal with that and all this other stuff. Well, I got my wish, so that makes me happy.
Yeah, like the fact that Phoenix never has to defend somebody who is guilty, and like at one point it becomes like high drama that somebody is basically blackmailing him, holding somebody hostage. Like I committed this, but get me off, or this person dies. It is played there, but nothing in these is ever meant to actually resemble anything related to a legal system. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But so anyway, I like that element of it, and I definitely will be playing the other game, of course. But I need a break from this genre before I continue, because I've had a lot of hours of it so far, and like I like the characters and such more than I like the characters in the original series. I like these characters a lot more. I wish that there was like an anime series for this, because I would have watched it. Where I don't have a strong inclination to go watch like the original Ace Attorney anime series or anything.
Yeah.
Like it's fine. Like I like the games, but this game, I already, just having played just the first one and haven't finished the rest of the narrative out, I would rank this right up there in my top visual novels. Hakuoki is still number one because it hits so many of the right notes for me in particular, but I think this one is already surpassing any of the other ones, so it's sitting in number 2 spot.
Number 2.
So,
okay, so I thought that Virtue's Last Reward was number 2. You're going to have to explain this.
I'm not going to hit myself on the desk and just like, there's not going to be any fist slamming.
No, I just want to understand. I just want to understand.
Yeah. So that has not been uttered in a while. It's been, God, when did that even happen? Was that like 2016, 2015? It's been a long time since I got very, very angry about that.
It's been a
game,
minute, yeah.
And the thing is I think my tolerances now have changed enough that I think if I went back to the game, I wouldn't be nearly as mad at it as I was at the time. So, I mentioned that before, though. I think like my tolerance, it's kind of like how much Persona 4 Golden made me mad because it was just so long and exhausting. Wouldn't make me bat an eyelash at this point, because at this point I've put like 160 hours into Pokemon Sword. So like,
yeah.
I mean, like I've since passed up the 95 hours I had with Persona 4 Gold. So,
right.
That kind of a thing. Like I think it's just been long enough of me getting into the genre that I don't think it would bother me. So
yeah, I wouldn't recommend. There are many. I like that.
Other games.
I like that game. There are lots of great ways to use that time.
Yeah, I know. There's lots of other games I could be playing instead. I have such a backlog. Yeah. So, well, anyway, Great Ace Attorney Adventures is already surpassing all the other games, with the exception of Hakuoki. in the visual novel / adventure game realm for me at this point. So that is my statement about this game. I really enjoy it, and like I think because for me the word fruity is like more appealing than whatever things I would describe the regular Ace. Like, I don't even know if I had a word to describe the weirdness of the original Ace Attorney, but it's a different flavor.
Yeah.
I like the flavor of this game and the kind of ways that it's being silly better than I like the original Ace Attorney's flavor, however we want to call that.
Yeah. But
since we're using a food metaphor here, we're going to go with it.
So the original one was not sufficiently fruit flavored?
It was not fruit flavored enough for me. It was not, I don't know, there was something like a little bit unsatisfying about it, where this one's got a more full-bodied, better mouthfeel, like. So anyway, no, I think part of it is really, at this point, they've already got the mechanics on lockdown by the time they made this game, and they also have an overarching narrative that ties in and is a bigger picture of with a lot of moving parts to it. And you have time to sit with the characters and have them be a little bit more complex than you do in the original series. So like the original series is way older. It was the first ones. It was, it's pretty obvious why this one would build on it. It's a good thing that the later games are better.
Yeah. If you've had, I think between when these came out, 15 years to continue making this kind of game, it would be super weird if they didn't continue getting better.
Yeah.
It'd be like,
for sure.
A little concerning, I would say.
Yeah. Yeah. So, well, anyway, so that's Ace Attorney Adventures. I will again be playing the other one at some point and bring that back to the table after a break. But next game that I played a little bit of, and only a little bit, was WarioWare Get It Together. I played the demo. It just came out.
Ooh.
So for my history with Wario, I played Wario Land games. I never played a WarioWare game. And so I had never played this before. And so this was my entry to, introduction to that type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's basically, for anybody else who has not actually played one of these before, it's basically a series of 5-second micro games strung together for 1 to 3 players as a party game, with a revolving door of characters that you play as, all with, like in this one, all with different gimmicks and abilities. You've got like a character on the screen, which it is my understanding that the previous ones didn't have a character on the screen. No. It was just direct interface.
Yeah.
So in here you are playing as one of the various WarioWare franchise characters. One can only fly. Another one is always riding back and forth on a skateboard. Wario himself can fly and has a shoulder charge or whatever. And the game takes into account the difficulty of playing one or another character. So you get special score bonuses with some of the characters, depending upon how hard they are to, accomplish the mini game tasks with.
Mm-hmm.
So the games are weird and random, like tweezing hairs under the arms of a Roman statue, or putting a leaf over a nude robot's crotch, or sometimes it's bread and butter, like getting past some obstacles to finish short sections of mazes and things like that. But it's just like boom, 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 boom. Here's a bunch of really brief things where you just figure out what you're doing and then you move on to the next thing.
It feels a little bit like playing memes, which is a weird thing to say, because WarioWare like predates our idea of like image macros and stuff by by a handful of years. But that's the that if I was asked to describe it today, that is the comparison that I would use.
For sure. And this particular installment also has a mode called Wario Cup, where you pick 5 characters and you try to survive as many micro games as possible, which of course I failed miserably at because I don't know any of these characters. I've never ever played one of these before, and I'm like, okay, this guy, oh man, that was the worst choice possible. Why did I pick that guy? Or whatever.
Right.
So the game overall tends to lean towards toilet humor and veers pretty close to gross out humor, which is not really my thing. And the kind of frenetic style of it is a little bit too kind of spazzy for me or Dave. Like, it's just like boom, 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 which if you like super fast gameplay, okay, that's cool because it switches, every few seconds to something else. But it felt too discontiguous for my interest, I guess. Mm-hmm. So it's not something that I want to keep playing, but I had never played one, so I tried it.
Yeah.
So
good.
I can chime in a little bit because I played like maybe the first hour of the game last night with some friends. Okay. Did the demo introduce like the characters one by one at all, or did it do
it? It did have like the characters introduced to you, and it tells you a little bit about them, and then you play them a little bit, and then it introduces you to this whole cycling through, and it kind of just gave us random characters to play.
Okay.
After that. Mm-hmm.
In Nintendo fashion, like they don't give you the entire game up front. You have to kind of play through like an hour, and then it kind of unlocks all the modes that you can play. Just keep that in mind if you want to play it as a party game. But,
God, why did they keep doing that?
Yeah.
I do not know.
Answer me. You live so close to Nintendo of America. Go beat down the front door. Tell them to stop it.
I was impressed by it though. Since the movement's like so disparate between all the characters, it's cool that they are able to make games that work for all the different movement styles.
Mm-hmm.
And have them by and large like work out okay.
Yeah, so I mean, like it's not like I'm saying, oh, this is a terrible game. No, like it's a good game for the type of game that it is, but this type of game is not really my thing. So I'm not going to continue going, oh man, I got to play this one. Like I don't co-op this kind of thing nearly as much as you do, Ben. So like I'm probably not going to jump back into it again. But like I did look at it at least.
Yeah.
So
It felt kind of like a return to form to the GameCube one, which was my favorite one. So
okay.
So it seemed like So I'm probably going to pick it up and kind of have that as like a standby party game for people. It seems like it kind of fits that void.
Yeah.
So.
I've got a copy of it sitting up on my entryway table. I picked it up over the weekend, but nice. I have been doing other things. So yeah.
So maybe this is something I should look up. But can you play this online? Like, is this something you could stream, Cole?
I don't know. I don't know if you could do it collaboratively or not. That'd be neat.
It's that I know of. It is not online co-opable on Switch. So yeah.
Boo-hiss. Okay. It would be pretty tough to get the timing down, I think, of some of the things. So
yeah. See, that's part of the problem. Is like, if it were online, I might consider it just to have something random to play with folks every once in a while. Yeah. But like, since it's not online, it's like with COVID and my parents and the situation, like I'm probably not going to have people over to have a party at Jala's house. So, that's not a thing for me. So
it'd be weird to risk everybody's health over WarioWare.
Yeah. So moving on though, I have nothing else to say about that. Mm-hmm. If you like WarioWare games, you will probably like this one. The end. So the last thing that I'm actually kind of excited about is Lost in Random. This is a third-person perspective action-adventure game with light role-playing elements that was developed by Zoink, and that's a very fun name, and published by EA for basically every system. And in the world of random, the queen rules by rolling a 6-sided die. Pet peeve, they call a single die a dice.
No.
Roll the die. No. Dice is plural, and it drives me nuts. Because every single person is like, I would have thought some voice actor would have been like, it's die for the singular, right? Mm-hmm. But nobody said anything. So anyway, that's just a pet peeve.
So I take it she doesn't like do any puns where she rolls the die to determine if a prisoner dies?
No.
Oh, man.
I know, it's like that would have worked with the whole steez of this game. But anyway, there are 6 realms in the world of random, directly related to the 6 sides of the die. And when children reach the age of 12, they roll the die themselves, and that roll determines where they're going to live and basically what their life's going to be like from there. One croft is where you start as a oneer. And this is basically the slums. All of the junk from the other realms falls here, and everybody lives in a trash heap. It's great.
Blight Town. Yeah.
Yeah. So, Two Town is filled with people who have split personalities, and depending upon whether the queen rolls a 1 or a 2 that day, everybody has one or the other personality. And the mayor of Two Town himself has 2 separate faces who constantly war for control of the body. One's on one side of the head and one's on the back of the head. And basically, both of them is planning to get rid of the other one by making some kind of a potion. And one of your quests involves getting the ingredients together for that potion and giving it to one or the other of the personalities, to basically deciding who the mayor is going to become at that point. But that's like an ongoing quest. I've only played a little bit of the game so far, so I do not know how that pans out yet.
Sounds like the DLC for Oblivion.
Yeah, kind of. So in the sky, in Two Town, there is actually a second version of the town being built upside down, mirroring the one that's below it, as the pinnacle of the expression of two-ness of Two Towns. So anyway, in the game, you play as Even, who is a little girl whose older sister, Odd, rolls the die and gets a 6, landing herself in the realm of the queen. And she is taken away. And ever since then, Even has been having nightmares about what's happening to Odd. And she keeps seeing this little ghost, which looks like a white sheet floating around with a little face on it. Mm-hmm. And one night she decides to follow the ghost and find out what happens to her sister. And that's how the adventure begins. She ends up following the ghost, coming across a sentient die that she names Dicey. And Dicey helps her in battle after the fashion of the Dice Masters of old, which is like a thing that happened during some war that took place a long time ago that nobody remembers, before the queen was ruling over the realm of random. Mm-hmm. And combat generally takes place in arenas that look like game boards. And some combat includes a chess piece that you have to move around the board by rolling dicey. And when it lands on certain spots, you will get sometimes a power up or something like that. Sometimes it'll like create a force field that'll freeze time for a little bit or whatever.
Yeah.
And sometimes it'll release a bird that has, that flies around on above the battleground and has like a bunch of money that if you can hit the bird's money pouch thing, then you can get, extra bonus monies. So in order to, so the combat's kind of interesting. In order to power up Dicey so you can roll him, so you can move this piece around the board, you have to hit specific crystallized weak points on your enemies with a little slingshot that you carry around. And this drops little shards that Dicey collects. And when he collects enough shards, you can roll him and time temporarily freezes. During the time freeze, you then select from a hand of cards in your possession in order to obtain power-ups or use special effects or anything. And these cards all have a number on them, and depending upon what number you rolled on Dicey, and like if you have any leftover points from the last time that you rolled Dicey, they add up, and then you can use different cards or combinations of cards according to your number that you had. And there's 5 different types of abilities and advantages depending upon your play style that you want to favor. There's weapons, there's damage, there's defense, there's hazards, and then there's cheats. So cheats would be like slowing down time in an area. Hazards would be like creating bombs or something, that kind of thing. So using the cards is the only way that you can deal damage to your enemies. Otherwise, you can kind of infinitely hit them with a slingshot and it's not going to do anything. Because these are the queen's men and everybody is powerless against them, which is why the queen rules.
Of course.
And the only reason why you get the ability to do something about it is because you have Dicey. So each card, like I said, costs a number of points, and that correlates to your rolls and everything. When you start the game, Dicey is missing pips on the different sides of his body, and so you can only roll a 1 or a 2 at the beginning.
Oh, that's clever.
And eventually you find a jar of pips, which are actually living things that are in a little jar, and they squeak and bounce around and stuff.
Oh.
And you need to find somebody to help you repair Dicey before you can roll higher numbers. So that's how they progress you. And you can also buy additional cards from a merchant and power up your deck. So that's where the money comes in.
That's horrifying. Like a pip is an absence of something. It's a hole. It's a divot. So it is a living absence.
It's a living absence that bounces around inside of this jar. So on that note, I should tell you that the art style in this game is very Tim Burton and Oddworld inspired. Mm-hmm. It's considered to be by the art director an homage to dark fairy tales and stop motion animation. So that should give you an idea of about what you're going to be looking at.
Earlier when you said something correlated to something, I was about to say, based on the screenshots, it correlates to something.
So anyway, each of the different areas of the game also has a different bit of a different visual feel based on one or another style of art that they were focusing on for each of them. And I've only been to one croft and 2 town. Mm-hmm. So I haven't been to all of the other areas to see it. But, so far I've been noticing changes to the style of artwork and those influences from both Oddworld and Tim Burton in particular. Yeah. The soundtrack is by Blake Robinson, who worked on Portal Knights and the Stanley Parable.
Oh, nice.
Cue David booing right about now. But the music's actually really good. So anyway, the humor in this game is kind of dark, of course, because dark fairy tales and such, but it's also not too dark. The voice work and the writing is very, very charming, and it's really funny and cute. Mm-hmm. I would say that this is pretty good for all ages. I'm really enjoying it so far. And I'm looking forward to playing more of it. We lost track of time when playing this game. And then it was like, oh, crap, it's way past the time that we need to be asleep because we wake up stupidly early in the morning. Oops. So
how did you hear about this?
I just happened to see it in the store and go, what's this? And clicked on it and looked at the trailer and said, it looks interesting. And then I looked at the reviews and realized, oh, it's like $30. That's not bad.
Yeah.
So
no, I was like, man, I'd never heard about this. This sounds really neat. The reason I haven't heard about it is it just came out this month. Came out like 2 weeks.
Yeah,
a week ago.
It just dropped. Yeah, that's why it was like on the front page of the Switch thing. And I was looking at it and I was like, that looks really good, but I've got other things I need to be playing on my Switch. Hey, Dave, why don't you put it on your Switch? So we're playing on his Switch on the TV because this game is so pretty that it really needs to be played on a larger screen than the little Switch screen.
Yeah,
so,
I imagine it runs better too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. So
it looks really sweet. And, I had not heard about it either, so that's cool.
I definitely would recommend taking a look at it because, like I said, this is something that could be played with kids. It's not super scary or anything. Like it's got, dark, creepy vibe, but it's not like,
it's not like Limbo.
Yeah, it's not completely terrifying. Okay. So anyway, yeah, I've been enjoying it. It kind of reminds me of there was like a series of young adult books that were like a remix on like Alice in Wonderland or something. And it was, I forget the name of it. The Looking Glass Wars maybe was the name of it. Anyway, it kind of reminds me of that sort of vibe to it because it kind of feels like a remake in a way of a fairy tale that I never heard of. So yeah.
Sounds creative.
That means that it's true to its influences. So yeah, check it out. Watch the trailer. It's great.
It does look gorgeous.
That's all I got.
Nice. Ben, since you popped in there with WarioWare Get It Together, I will throw it to you now.
Yeah, I got a few other things I played since then. One game that I just started today is a game called Quern, which I'll write out.
Oh, Quern Undying Memories or something like that?
Yeah, I hadn't heard of this game. One of the streamers I watched was playing it, and it's basically a puzzle game. Looks similar to like Myst or The Witness that came out in 2016. So it's like a super older game.
Yeah. It's spelled Quern. Quern.
Yeah. So yeah, I've only played it for like maybe an hour, and it's very much in the vein of like The Witness or Myst so far. You drop off on an island. I think maybe a difference is there's like a narrator who's leaving you letters that you're reading, so there's like voiceover for that. But other than that, it's a bunch of puzzles. You get a bunch of things, a bunch of objects, and you're trying to figure out like how to put them together or make them interact with other parts of the world. And it's like a giant puzzle box, so you basically like unlock doors that will get you to other parts of the presumably island that you're on. But it's like the premise is you like step through a portal in like an ancient world or like a weird like fantasy world or something. But that's like the start of the game is you waking up next to a portal as it breaks and turns off. And then you have to kind of like figure your way out of there. Yeah, so definitely scratches that sort of itch so far. But it's like way too early to tell if it's like a good game or not. But it does feel like in the same vein of like what is it, abduction?
Yeah, abduction.
Yeah, it feels like in the same vein as that, kind of leaning in that direction.
Yeah.
So
I've been curious about this one. I like that it leans in aesthetically to the creepier side of Myst a little bit. Not outright horror, but you know, just there's kind of an uncanniness to a lot of the architecture and scenery. Whereas that's sometimes used in Myst, you know, even later on, but it is more like this is ornate and wonderful, or looks beautiful and fragile. Whereas this stuff is just feels a little bit hostile, which is neat.
Yeah. So other than that, I don't have too much to say about it. I was going to move on to other things.
Okay.
I started playing Gas Station Simulator over the weekend.
I did too. I can
watching Kole play it. Yeah, I was interested when he played the demo a while back. So I figured jump into that. Played it for maybe a good, I don't know, 10 to 20 hours or so. I guess 10 hours. But yeah, it's like a frantic Stardew Valley that's like not cute. Very different aesthetic.
It's like Stardew Valley, except instead of your grandpa was dead and left you the farm, it's he kind of like coerced you into taking a predatory loan and then sent bugs after you. It's seriously, that's a part of the tutorial, like explaining because you can take out loans to goose your business, and he gets just like, oh, I'm giving you everything free. It's a family investment, etc. But the second he sends you I think it's just money to like your first shipment of like food to sell as snacks or whatever, like bills due, and then like some dudes come and get you because he set the time too short.
Yeah, that part's weird, I guess. I'm not sure what they're going for with that part of the story. But you know, that kind of is a way to get you into, I guess, the part of the game. So I think that's like the long-term goal of the game too. And I think it's similar to like Animal Crossing, where it's like you're doing all these small tasks to try and raise money to pay off a loan and then go from there. So I think you can level up the different buildings that you have. There's I'm not sure how much is in. I know the demo has the bathroom, the main room. I think it has the auto repair room. Yeah, and the stock house, the warehouse.
No, it doesn't. The demo, the demo didn't have the stock house. The demo, the stations that you had to manage were the pump, the counter for like food sales, and then the auto repair.
Okay. All right. So the only other thing that I've unlocked besides that is and that's basically where you get goods delivered and then you unload them and then you use those goods to restock all the things in those other three places you just talked about. Yeah. So you order food or like tires or scratch remover or whatever, and they'll be delivered there. You can level each of those buildings up, and then new things will be are upgradable at certain levels or unlocked at certain levels. So, for example, the gas station itself, as you level it up, you can get multiple pumps, so you can have more people go there, and you can unlock multiple parking lots, so more people will come in and to the shop and everything. There's a mechanic that I don't think that they have in the demo, and that I actually haven't interacted with. They briefly have it in the tutorial where they give you a lockpick because there's like a trunk that's on the property that you want to get open and get like resources out of, and it has a minigame that's like legally actionable close to Fallout. In terms of
it's Fallout or Skyrim. If you think that's funny, go play Thief Simulator, where there are multiple different kinds of lockpicking mini games, all of which are pulled from different games.
Nice.
so they have both the the rotational Fallout one. They have the Oblivion, like you're bouncing the tumblers one. Just a bunch of stuff like that. So I don't think that people are pursuing are pursuing let's say litigation,
copyright.
Well, I mean, imagine how confusing that would be in court. Like, oh yeah, he stole it. No, not in the game, in real life.
So I haven't really used that beyond the tutorial, but I found out watching another streamer game that apparently you can rob all of your customers blind with this lockpick.
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah.
See, like in front of them too, like as they're waiting at the pump, you can just open up their trunk and lift like $10 out of the back of their car. Interesting mechanic that they have in the game. It's kind of weird, dude. The game's like kind of janky, but in a little bit of a lovable way. I found out that you can use the push broom to interact with cars, and for example, you can just push broom a car away from the pump. The
just shoo it away like a cat.
The physics are bad. Like you can overturn the car with the push broom.
That's great. I love this. I love the level of chaos that you are uncovering in this game, Ben. This makes me very happy.
But so the problem though is that pump filling objective is still on the board. So you got to push broom that car back close enough so that you can actually pump gas into it. Doesn't matter if the car's upside down or not. You can still pump gas into it.
Right side down, upside up, pump still empty.
Also, whether or not the car is upside down does not matter for.
It doesn't matter for what?
Car. I said, whether or not the car is upside down or not does not matter when the person tries to get back in the car as well. So just get down upside down. God. You can push broom them away because the wheels spinning upside down won't move the car at all. And then you can break physics and have the car fire off into the sky. So
I love Eurojank. It's so good.
Yeah. You have like when you pick up objects, you can set it down with the right trigger, but they have this like questionable thing that they added where you can, if you hold it down, an accuracy meter starts filling up. And the idea, it fills up to 100%. And I guess it's like the force at which you're letting go of the object. So if you just tap on the right click, you drop it. If you hold it into 100%, it like bullets away from you.
Oh, it's like it's like firing a howitzer. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. And so you can shoot something like straight up into the sky and then try and catch it as it comes back down. But it's like, it's lovably jankful. They put a kind of like a lot of kind of monotony into the tasks that you're doing, where it's like you get the point after you do it like 5 or 10 times, but you got to do it way past that.
It's about keeping at least until you can hire employees, it's about keeping the plate spinning, right?
Yeah, and so that's something that I've just kind of hit is I think at level 3 you can hire a employee. And so you build a trailer for them on site to live in, apparently.
Of course.
Because why not? And then you can assign tasks to them. I haven't figured out how you can do more than one, but like so far it's like you just pick one thing for them to do, and then they'll do that for their shift, whether it's like 8 hours or 10 hours or whatever. So I had my person scan groceries because that was like the most tedious task.
Yeah.
What were you saying?
Oh no, I was going to ask, can you put them on dentist watch?
I I don't think so.
Yeah.
That's like a weird mechanic, and I didn't even put it together that it's like Dennis the Menace, perhaps referencing that.
I didn't realize it until I said it out loud. Dennis is he's a I was about to say neighborhood tough. You're not in a neighborhood. You're out in the middle of a fucking desert.
Yeah.
But he's just this rotten little kid who occasionally comes by and tags the outside of the gas station. And you've got to go and paint over all of his graffiti, or the customers will be unhappy. That is, unless you throw something at him, and by throw something at him, I mean charge up your little reticle and then accelerate a plank past the speed of sound, firing it at him like a railgun.
As he runs off into the desert, presumably to die.
Neener. Licking his wounds. Yeah. So that's what I mean by Dennis Watch.
Yeah. And it's like, well, I thought the weird thing with that is it's like the stakes are pretty low. It doesn't matter if he spray paints the entire thing. Like, it only takes a minute to paint over everything, or it's like not too big of a setback. Thing I get bothered by is fucking dusty feet on all the customers who come into the gas station.
Yeah. You're in the middle of a desert.
Yeah, so the idea is like it feels almost like Phasmophobia. There's these like dust footprints that are left behind people as they like walk through the store, and you have like a meter that shows like the beautifulness of your gas station, and so it drops the more and more dust footprints accumulate. So you like have a push broom when you're not using it to manhandle cars, and you can sweep up the gas station to make it prettier. And then, that affects customers, like how will they respond to the environment? Like if they have a positive or negative impression of the gas station. Yeah. And it matters, I think, especially in the bathroom. The bathroom is just a beauty check. It's not anything beyond that. So, yeah.
And their reactions matter because you have a reputation level. And people will either avoid you or more people will come, depending on your reputation.
Yeah. Yeah, and so the spot that I'm at right now is I'm kind of blocked where they give you these like challenge objectives to complete, which is fine. But one of them is getting tips from people, which you do if you do a task perfectly, whatever that means. But like the only task that I've ever been able to do perfectly is the grocery like swiping or whatever, the checkout or whatever. That's also the job that I give to my employee because I'm like least interested in doing it. So I've been a little bit bottlenecked by that. I think you need to get like 40 tips, and I'm somewhere in the mid 20s, I think. So I have to like manually go and wait for customers and like do that task. And so that's kind of a slowdown because everything else is done at this point. I don't know how you get like perfect on the car. If maybe you just need to be quicker than what I am for it.
It's literally just timing. Like I've nailed a couple of them, but that's kind of just by accident.
Yeah. I've never gotten it perfect on the gas pump. However, like even with shift and getting it pretty close. I don't know. Anyway, but once I complete that, then I can upgrade my gas station to the next level. I think everything else to the next level of level 4. And so that'll probably make me invest more time into it again, but it feels kind of bad right now. Just kind of being a little bit arbitrarily locked out, or like, I wish it was something that it was less monotonous to do to complete, I guess.
Just kind of stuck on a plateau with no good options.
Yeah. And then one thing that's kind of interesting is, so one of the other mechanics of the game, I think kind of alluded to this, is you can set up stands in your gas station that are like cigarettes or booze or food or drinks or newspapers. And customers can get those. They're largely the same. I'm not sure why they differentiated them as much as they do. For example, I don't think I've set up cigarettes at all, but I've set up everything else. But it seems to not impact at all, like having not set that up. And like furthermore, I think I could have just maybe it's like profit or something. There's like higher profits in the higher level things, and that's why you want to do it. But yeah, that feels kind of like samey as you're doing that. It doesn't really feel like it's progressing much there.
I think it's literally just another thing that will bring variety. So like when you're stocking shelves, what they say is that customers, they respond most if you have a high variety of things, as opposed to having just like a bunch of one kind of an item. So I think that if you have all of those, there is a higher likelihood that anybody who comes in will want to get more of them. you know, one or more, as opposed to if you just had another one. And then the way that the restock economy works is that the restock price goes up and down. So it's another thing for you to watch. So you can buy on a dip. Yeah.
Yeah, I think they color code it, right? Like green means cheaper and red means higher price.
Yeah, and you can look at the chart and see if it's at a historical high or historical low.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Jeez. So much depth in this game. Yeah, I don't know. It's like a mixed bag. I enjoy it. Like it's like a weird gameplay because it feels more jobby or chorey than your typical game, but that's kind of what a simulator is. But it's also like weirdly like Zen, where you kind of get in a flow of playing it. So yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. It's you know, playing that kind of game, like House Flipper is something real similar to me. It feels weirdly like playing a Picross, actually. Like there's just a certain kind of thing, or like a like particular kinds of like city builders or idle games where it's about bringing order to chaos. Like for me, it just kind of feels like scratching a part of the brain, you know, like, you know, no matter what, like just if you scratch your back or if somebody scratches your back, it's kind of always going to feel good, you know. Like, yeah, playing a game like this for me, you know, going around and painting everything and picking the stuff up and, you know, making sure that my income is good and all of that, it is like scratching a particular part of the brain. And it's why I can't have them around too much, because, you know, hours disappear. I played like 2 hours and it was like, no, I have homework to do. I can't. I can't. Also, thank you. Thank you very much for sending me that copy of it.
Yeah, well, sorry now that I sent it to you.
No.
You take this heroin, Cole. No, I enjoyed it. I'll probably play that one some more as well. But and I think the only other one that I got to talk about is I've continued playing Storybook Brawl. That continues to be fun. There's I don't it's still enjoyable. I think I have like 18 trophies now, and I've played it for like 80 hours. That's 1 per 4 hours, so maybe like 1 out of every 8 is a win, which is like average because there's 8 players.
Right.
So I'm doing average, guys.
Hey, you know,
woo!
You bat 200, you get in the Hall of Fame. I don't think that's the case. I don't think you get in the Hall of Fame if you bat 200. Oh, so, man.
That's all I got.
Nice. I had Gas Station Simulator in there. Yeah, I played it. It wasn't a problem because I wanted to have something that I didn't stream to bring this week. So I consciously wanted to dive into that. The only other things that I played that were not Gas Station Simulator were things that I streamed over this past weekend. So I streamed a new one. It's called Bloodwash. This is a silly game, and I don't know that I ultimately like it. The idea is, so it's kind of like first-person adventure game, walking simulator kind of deal. You're playing as somebody who the laundry at your apartment has broken, and you need to go to the laundromat late at night. The problem is you are a young pregnant woman, and there's a serial killer about called the Womb Ripper.
Jesus.
Yeah. So I was hesitant about this, but I read reviews that, you know, were like, don't worry about that premise. It's not like, you know, it's not, you know, it's not worse than you think it's going to be, I guess. Like just gonna go for it.
I think it's gonna be pretty bad.
Yeah, it ends up like not going into like weird or exploitative kind of places, but it's just, you know, the idea that like, yes, you are a target of this particular slasher kind of thing, and it has kind of this retro kind of vibe. Ultimately, like that was one of the things that really kind of turned me off of it, was like the edginess of it to a certain extent. It didn't feel like it was being done specifically for like scares. It felt a little bit more like it felt silly and gratuitous in a way that, like, you know, on one hand you're playing horror. Why would you expect it to be like proper or whatever? But like, no, there's kind of a good way to do it and in a bad way. And one of the bad ways is like, am I supposed to think this is funny? Because this doesn't work for me as a joke or as like a scary thing. which is a shame because like the actual premise of this, like the things that you end up doing once you get to, you know, the shopping center where this all night laundromat is open, is you go and you've got to, you know, put in your and put in your laundry, and then you have a timer, and like, okay, you've got to kill time while you are waiting for your laundry to get done. And so you have the entire shopping plaza to go around and like talk to people and mill about in stores. And what you are doing is like finding evidence of this other laundromat that had burned down, and kind of the plot that was related to, like, oh, was this an insurance thing or was it to cover up another crime? And you're like asking people who were kind of around. You're doing like a little miniature investigation before the kind of like run from the killer stuff kind of starts. So like all of that is kind of cool. I just wish it wasn't. I wish it was like 20% less grindhousey, you know. Like maybe don't call your serial killer the womb ripper. A little weird. It's an
evocative name.
It is, yeah. It definitely there's a clarity to it. So there's it is a lo-fi horror game, you know, low poly. It has the VHS and chromatic aberration like a CRT filter over it. It's pretty standard for what you're gonna get. Like, a thing that's weird about it is that it does have voiceover, which I was happy for because I didn't have to do a bunch of reading out loud.
You've done a lot of that with your Chrono Cross, so
I have, yes. I've been on kind of a jag of reading. Yeah. So Bloodwash, like, it's, you know, I don't know that I would recommend it. I'm happy that I streamed it so people could kind of get a sense for what was there without plopping the money down and checking it out themselves. You know, kind of regardless of, I'm in a great situation. Even if I play something that was kind of meh, at least it was still content. So there's that. So, any questions about Bloodwash?
No, I popped in for a minute. I came, I saw, yeah. I went.
I thought that was going to be a two-nighter, but it did not end up being a two-nighter. The other game that I played was another lo-fi horror game that ended up being pretty good, much better than Bloodwash. It's called A Place Forbidden. This is free on Steam, and there was a demo for this in the Haunted PS1 demo disc from 2020, I believe it was the first one. Either that or the first Dread X collection. This is neat. You play somebody who you got a letter from a friend, and you wake up one night sitting in a chair in the Ouroboros Library, which is this eldritch location that people do not escape from. And in fact, if you find a way to get out, you just walk back in the front entrance. Is like where it always takes you. You know, and this is a place where knowledge that people are not supposed to know where it is kept, and you have to figure out a way to get out without being driven mad, without dying, without having whatever force is administering this place kind of like take you and warp you. And as you go, the environments degrade and things get much weirder and very kind of like aggressive, let's say. And it's super good, and it rises above kind of just being like a walk around haunted house kind of game, because there are like puzzles and stuff. There's like escape room things that you do, not super involved, but there's, you know, like looking for clues and notes, you know, based on like misspellings, and there's, you know, like just noticing something off about the environment and saying like, okay, that has to be information, that has to be a pattern that you use somewhere else. Has a really good tone. The puzzles are great. And the writing in it is very good. There were a few lines, you know, specifically as it gets to like the more personal side of the story, that were like absolutely gut wrenching. Which was pretty good. Yeah, I was surprised at how like complete and good of an experience this was.
How long was it?
Oh man, it was like a 2-hour stream, you know. So But yeah, I just it was neat. I would recommend people play it because it's a little heavy on the reading, but it's a game that takes place in a library. But like as far as these go, yeah, it's pretty cool if you have a Sunday afternoon to kill.
That sounds
Cool.
Yeah, A Place Forbidden. Yeah, David, how about you?
Yeah, so I haven't been doing a ton. I have been diving though into the newest expansion to No Man's Sky. So I think I mentioned last week I did the new expedition, but didn't have time to experiment with the actual expansion, which basically introduced the ability to become the overseer of a settlement on randomly generated on one of the planets. So that's what I got into this week. Basically, I when I logged on, I got a distress call from a settlement on a irradiated planet near where I was at that was being attacked by basically robot drones. So went down and rescued them, and they kind of cheered and proceeded to be like, "Hey, why don't you become our mayor?" So it's very much operating under like the Animal Crossing logic.
Just the first person that we see from out of town becomes our mayor.
Yeah, exactly. So it's actually fairly hands off. Basically, you periodically get a opportunity to make some sort of decision based on based around the community. So it'll be things like you'll have someone that wants to join the community, and you have to decide if based on like what they would bring to the community, whether you want to allow them or not. Or you sometimes have to basically decide what building to be the next to build in the community.
Mm-hmm.
And this all leads into, you have, I think, about 4 stats. You have population, happiness, productivity, and maintenance.
Mm-hmm.
And no one's sure what population and happiness do yet. So, but you can increase them for population building housing, and for happiness building like saloons or throwing parties.
Mm-hmm.
But then the other two, basically your profitability minus your maintenance, determines how much cash is generated each day that you then get to siphon off the top, because that's the type of corruption you get when you make the first person that walks in the mayor.
Yeah, I mean, they were pretty much asking for it.
Exactly. Also, though, if the maintenance is higher than the profitability, the town actually goes into debt.
Okay.
Which, other than the fact that you can't skim anything off the top, I haven't been able to find any negative side effect of that, but it is kind of dark that, even in this world,
You can just have a municipal bond crisis.
Exactly.
Yeah.
The one thing that is kind of neat is when you elect to build a building, it actually does, physically build a building. And so, the town over time gets bigger and bigger. So I would say currently the one I have is maybe like 10 to 15 buildings. And at least some of them are useful. If you build a marketplace, it actually does have a vendor. And likewise, if you build a spaceport, that lets you land your ships for free.
Mm-hmm.
The downside of it is that, from what I understand, the profitability maxes out at about 1 million credits a day. And that appears to be a more or less 24-hour day. And by that point in the game, a million credits is virtually nothing. You can make that much in maybe 15 minutes.
Can you maintain multiple settlements?
You can only have a single settlement. You can have multiple bases, but only a single settlement. But if you actually care about money, you're much more well off just building a industrial base and mining a bunch of shit.
Yeah.
So,
So No Man's Sky is teaching some harsh lessons here, huh?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta exploit that environment. So you can also go and talk to your townsfolk, but they don't seem to have anything all that interesting to say. So it's still a pretty neat feature. It adds a little bit of life to the game, but it's kind of unfortunately across the board. No Man's Sky tends to be fun for its breadth instead of its depth.
Yeah.
And, that's not an awful thing, but, it is something you have to consider.
Yeah. No, it kind of seems like the No Man's Sky version of anything will be like a Fisher Price version of it, So like if you actually want to play like a city builder, or if you want to play a survival game, or if you want to play a space combat game, like there are in-depth versions of all of those. No Man's Sky is where you go to get kind of a little bit of all of them, it seems.
Yeah, I think about the two things that it does probably better than just about anything else is, it truly does, generate and have the graphics for some really amazing landscapes.
Mm-hmm.
And, that's something they keep adding more and more to.
Yeah.
And likewise, it has some, the actual base building in terms of like functionality, you're much better doing like a Factorio or Satisfactory or something like that.
Yeah.
However, it does have a lot you can do in terms of just building some really cool bases. Mm-hmm. Especially, I think with this expansion, they actually added a bunch of new features that basically all of the art assets that go into these settlements, you can also unlock for your own base. And so that lets you make some pretty cool things.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's all I've got. The only other thing I'm doing is just running around, building out some of the, just, minor upgrades I haven't done yet, maxing out the size of my freighter, things like that. But that's fairly boring. So, yeah, that's really all I have this week.
That sounds like a segment to me.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and then you answer it. Jala, what is the question that you asked the nice people?
I asked, who is your favorite video game villain and why?
Yeah. And I'll get us started here with Greg, who gives a popular answer, or an unpopular answer, depending on. Kefka from Final Fantasy VI, enough said. Everyone's favorite, a nihilistic clown god. Yeah.
Yay!
Can't argue with that, even if I wanted to. Ben, what does Callum say?
Callum says GLaDOS and Portal for obvious reasons, mostly because her taunt promise bribe switching is hilarious.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm more scared of Wheatley though, if I'm being honest with you. Dumb evil is always
dumb.
Yeah.
Dumb evil is way more dangerous than smart evil. Because smart evil can comprehend self-interest. David, what does Sean say?
Sean says, Liquid Snake, such a cheesy 80s/90s action film style villain, and the way he manipulates Snake as Mr. Miller is brilliant. Also, that topless fight on top of Rex is so memorable.
It is. Yeah, Liquid is Liquid's good. Can't add more on top of that. Jala, what does Tyler say?
Tyler says, this is quite possibly recency bias, but probably Emmett Selch from Final Fantasy XIV. They did such a great job characterizing him and his motivations over the course of the Shadowbringers expansion, and the ending of that expansion is one of my favorite moments in gaming.
Selch? That sounds like a villain name that I would make up.
Yeah, yeah. It sounds like squelch, so that has like a different kind of connotation than effective and awesome villain. But like, hey, this was a top tier pick, so you know. All right, cool.
Yeah. Ollie says, not so much a single villain, but I really like the assorted bad guys from Dishonored, from Dowd to Havelock. They each add to the game and the overall feeling of griminess at all levels of society. Yeah. I mean, especially because you spend the entirety of each of their levels just wandering through environments that are all about how they're pieces of shit. Yeah.
And then you sell them into slavery.
That's one of them.
Or kill them. Yeah. Man, Dishonored's good. Yeah. Let's see. David, or Ben rather. What's Eli say?
Eli says, Gwyn, Lord of Cinder. The buildup of this massively important character in the lore, the killing of the first flame, the way he walks towards you, his obvious madness as he wildly swings his sword at you, and that song, that goddamn song, 10 out of 10. Wait a minute, could I have said Artorias? Okay, so the buildup...
Artorias is tragic. He's not a villain at all. He is, by the time you see him, he has been corrupted. He's feral, basically. Gwyn is absolutely somebody who... well, his actions are recontextualized by 3, but that's not canon, according to me. So I don't have my air horn here, so I can't play that. I just wanted to make a bunch of people mad. Yeah. But Gwen's a good one. Let's see, David. What does David say?
David says, Gontor O'Dim from The Witcher 3: Hearts of Stone DLC. So well written and acted, and his potential power was so scary that when the time came to have a showdown, I was like, nope, I'd rather not get involved like that.
I mean, he is outright stated by the developers to be to be Randall Flagg, and therefore possibly an avatar of Nyarlathotep. So, yeah. He is not to be fucked with, and is 100% the most dangerous thing Geralt goes up against.
Not fuck withable.
Not fuck withable. No, I mean, like, he's one of the few things that Geralt just absolutely cannot kill. I go back and forth on Geralt or Geralt because I have no confidence which one's right, so I apologize.
What about Geralt?
Geralt. Jala, what does Patrick say?
Patrick says, since my original Final Fantasy XIV answer was already used, I'll go with my second, Yotsuyu. When she is introduced, she becomes immediately hateable by having an innocent person shoot another innocent person, and then she orders him to kill his parents. Once you learn her backstory, you can begin to understand where she came from, but it doesn't make her actions any better.
I assume that is also somebody from Final Fantasy XIV?
I do not know. I have not played that game.
Neither have I. David, do you know?
I have no idea.
That is from Final Fantasy XIV, the Stormblood expansion. Yes. Yeah. Let's see here. Rookie says, Kefka from Final Fantasy VI. Early on, he's the main bad guy's actual literal jester who commits war crimes because he's crazy. Then, just when you're about to stop the evil emperor and beat the game, it turns out that he had his own plan, and it was phenomenally dumb. Step 1, destroy world. Step 2, spend his retirement shooting lightning from a tower of what is left. And he accomplishes it. He's able to live out his dream. Kefka is one of the most successful villains in gaming, nay, fiction. Also, his music is super catchy and fits him perfectly.
2 votes for Kefka.
Yeah. Just can just sit on a tower, like literally made of all of the pieces of the world that he broke, and just destroy entire cities with lightning bolts. Yeah. Let's see. Ben, what does Case say?
Case says Doc Ock in Spider-Man in 2018. Everybody knows who he is from the start of the game. You talk to him throughout, and you know his past and why he changes. And when you have the big spoilers moment with the Sinister Six, where he tells you to stay out of his way, and he throws Spider-Man off the building, gave me chills the first time I experienced it. He's the perfect tragic villain because he only wants to do good things for the world, and it's only because his technology went wrong and messed with his emotions that he goes evil and violent.
Yeah. Also, he's he's pressured. He's pressured into extreme measures. You know?
That was extremely well paced in that game. Getting to Doc Ock.
I mean, the fact that just like, oh, the Peter is working with Otto Octavius. Like, I know what he's going to be. I know what he does. Right. The fact that they still made it interesting. Mm-hmm. Just
also, I just have to say, I know it was completely on accident. However, it's very great that Ben was the one that had to read the one with spoilers in it.
And David always reads David.
He does.
Yeah, I know.
But it's like, it's weird because it's not really a spoiler. Like Doc Ock, gonna be evil. He's gonna assemble. If there's a Sinister Six, he's gonna assemble it. Oh man, David, what does Alex say?
Alex says Yakuza has some really great ruthless villains and betrayals, but I'm not up enough on the series lore to know what stands out.
Yeah. There's good ones. Yeah, I mean, I've only ever really played the first one, but Nishiki does a very good job at being somebody who betrays you, like literal childhood friend who just really fucks you over.
See, but I feel like you're Yakuza. Shouldn't you be expecting that?
I mean, their whole thing is they're family. They don't they're not supposed to stab each other in the back. Not within the actual family itself. You know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And then finally, Jala, what does Tom say?
Wait, there's a Tom? Hold on.
Yes.
Where's Tom?
I can read Tom if you don't have it pulled up. That's fine.
I don't have it up.
Okay. They posted this one relatively recently. Tom says, the assorted leaders from Bloodborne, Mikolash, Willem, Lawrence, Gehrman, and Maria are different ways a protagonist in another story would go. The actual game's not a hero following in their footsteps. The entire world is their fault. And now I am stuck holding the bag. It's a more relatable story than most power fantasies. Yeah. All of them are people who played around with forces that they thought they could control, but like any Lovecraftish story, no, they could not. And it quickly gets out of hand. Especially Gehrman. And Mikolash. And Lawrence. And Willem. Oh, man. All those are good. So I've got my joke answer would be capitalism in Disco Elysium. But that's just the joke answer. I would probably say I'll just throw this one in, the nameless one from Planescape Torment. Even if
I was going to say the transcendent one. Oh. Damn it! You took my answer.
I'm sorry.
Damn it!
I'm sorry.
I was like, oh, nobody's going to say this.
Yeah.
Oh, no. Fine. Be that way. Okay, so why did you pick him?
Well, I mean, I just I chose the nameless one. The transcendent one could definitely be that. But even the nameless one in his past iterations has done such horrible things to everybody around you. Like you know, it is one of those cases where you are just the people closest to you, or people whose lives you have ruined, and it's the only reason they're sticking with you. And like the entirety of the story is learning about that and deciding whether you want to atone for it, or whether you want to twist the knife even further. Yeah, it's incredibly good. So I apologize for scooping you, Jala, but that is a side effect of the way we handle these. So did you have something you wanted to say? I'll let you tag team on this.
Well, and besides which, I mean, there's some cross culture there about things that both of us like. So,
yeah.
But anyway, I mentioned Transcendent One, which is just part of the Nameless One that was intentionally put over there in a body. Anyway, it's a fragment of the Nameless One, so that's why it's like, no, it's actually kind of scooping my answer. The fun part about it, though, is that during the final battle, you can opt to talk to him and totally circumvent having to fight at all.
Yeah.
And that's pretty cool that there's actually like a rational ass way of fixing the situation, if you will. Although the Nameless One himself, like all of his iterations, are pretty terrible. So, and that's a damn good game. Everybody should play that one.
Yeah.
I like Tides of Numenera, but I still love Planescape Torment more. Like writing wise and everything, it's great.
Yeah,
phenomenal.
The only thing that has like come close to it in terms of like poignancy for me has been either Pathologic or Disco Elysium, and all of those are downright like novelesque. So it's literature, baby. Yeah. Ben, how about you?
Yeah, so I'm going a different direction with this. I'm not picking someone based on their capacity, but I'm picking Revolver Ocelot because not at any point do I actually take him seriously as a villain. It's like, and I'm like rooting for him. I like want good things to happen for him, just because he's so funny and pathetic. Yeah.
Favorite villain doesn't have to be effective villain.
Yeah. And it is questionable whether he absolutely does terrible things throughout it, but like it is one of those deals where it's questionable whether or not he actually is bad. Because he ultimately, this is
spoilers.
this is undone by the by Revengeance, but like he is fighting a very worthy villain. And really, snakes only quibble with him as the collateral damage that he doesn't see as acceptable. Yeah. How about you, David?
I think I'd have to go with Voss from Far Cry 3.
Okay.
He's just a really entertaining villain. I think my favorite part, there's a series where, early on he, gives this big monologue with, talk about, the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, and expecting a different result. And then about midway through the game, there's this sequence of missions where just one after the other, he keeps, you get captured and he, either, thinks he kills you or leaves you in a death trap or something like that. And, you get out and just, a very short period of time later, you're back in that situation. And then the final one, he just, gets in your face and is giving you the crazy eyes like, hey, have I ever told you about the definition of insanity? It's really a well-timed character moment that I really enjoyed.
Yeah. No, I was looking to jog my memory as I was kind of approaching this question as the segment was approaching, and like every every top result on Google, the thumbnail image for it was that guy from Far Cry 3. So that is that is definitely a popular choice as well.
Yeah, it's kind of funny. It's too bad Pagan Min was also a very good character. He's just not in like 99% of the game.
Yeah.
Far Cry 4 was just shit.
Yeah.
Or 5 or wherever the Montana one.
I have no idea like where 6 takes place or like anything about it, but the fact that they got Giancarlo Esposito in to play the villain, like Yeah, that's one way you can do it. Just take one of the most bone-chilling villains from another piece of fiction and bring that actor over.
What was the villain? Sorry.
He played Gus in Breaking Bad.
Okay.
The chicken restaurant guy who is the drug kingpin who Walt ends up working for.
Okay. Yeah. I think the most recent one is kind of is the Just Cause thing of just being generic, like Banana Republic.
Yeah. So I'm going to be paying a little bit more attention to 6, although I don't, I've not really been terribly entertained by the series in general.
Yeah,
it's for other folks.
The pro tip is if you just play the standalone expansion for each iteration, they're pretty much always amazing.
Yeah, Blood Dragon and the New Dawn or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Nice. Well, that sounds like a multiplayer to me. Thank you, everybody, for participating. If you would like to get in on this action, go to facebook.com/thelevelpodcast and watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. And thank you, Jala, for posting this one. It was a good question.
Hey.
The end boss.
Now it is time for the end boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games that are exciting to us. Jala, tell me about this urban exploration that happened.
Yeah, so a couple of YouTubers who run the channel Cheap Finds Gold Mines ended up finding a video game collection worth about $100,000. It included a bunch of sealed copies of games, including The Legend of Zelda Wind Waker, Resident Evil Chainsaw Controller, and a whole lot of other stuff. There was also a ton of Blockbuster VHS tapes and stacks of Game Informer magazines. So there were 2 videos released about this, one of which was when they were actually uncovering everything. The second of which gave the backstory about where this house came from and where all the stuff came from and, what was happening there. Basically, this house was owned by a man who'd had it since 1965. And when he experienced the trauma of losing someone close to him, he began to collect things that he loved, in this case, video games. And he fell ill in 2019 and then ended up moving out, leaving the house abandoned because he was in like a care facility or something. Yeah. And nobody had gone in there in a long time. And I don't know what happened after that, but they ended up jumping in there and finding all this stuff. But kind of an interesting way of just showing how collecting stuff that you like that brings you joy can also still kind of help you through some rough patches. And this guy went on to live a full life, a full rich life. So did
he pass, or is
he? I do not know. I know that he was ill in 2019. Yeah. And that was a few years ago, so I'm not sure at this point if he actually passed, but I'm assuming that if they just left the house, untouched and then let some random people come in, then I'm assuming that probably is the case.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they weren't just robbing this dude's house.
No, it was they were in contact with a family member who had helped this person, leave their house and move into the care facility. So this was totally an authorized thing. But,
cool. That was my worry.
No, I wasn't gonna bring a horrible story about that.
Okay.
Oh.
See, that's the difference between you and me. I would definitely bring a horrible story.
Well, I mean, just also if these are content creators, you don't want to be the vultures who picked over this sick guy's possessions. You wouldn't escape that reputation ever. Yeah. No.
Huh. Well, ever's a long time in content creator world.
Yeah, I suppose. Oh. Well, okay. So I'm happy. I'm happy that it was that they were sanctioned. It was an official thing. That is good. Mm-hmm. I've got one real quick. Occasionally you find out about upcoming releases when games are rated in foreign territories. Oftentimes this happens in Australia, where ratings agencies leak. But this time, this came, I believe, from both Australia and Taiwan, where it appears that Konami is going to be releasing the Castlevania Advance collection. Hi, this is Kole from The Level. I didn't expect this one to need an update, but it does, because this came out literally 2 days after we recorded. Yeah. So I'll leave the rest of the story in here, but you can go get this collection. It looks neat to me. Yeah.
Yeah,
Which potentially is going to contain Castlevania Circle of the Moon, Harmony of Dissonance, and Aria of Sorrow. And I was excited about this before I stopped and remembered, oh, those are all really simple, actually. This would even Aria of Sorrow, like the one that like everybody should be excited about would be if it was the DS one, with Dawn of Sorrow, Portrait of Ruin, and Order of Ecclesia. But yeah, this is not the first time that Circle of them. All of these have been available. They were available on the Wii U virtual console for the 4 people who owned Wii's U. I owned a Wii U. I played them on that big Fisher Price Switch that you had there. But yeah, this has been rated. Probably going to be coming. The Castlevania like classic collection is pretty good. So yeah, just Konami going back and mining their old content because God knows they won't make new things.
Yeah. Well, I still have to say that I am kind of excited about this because I put in a lot of hours into Circle of the Moon when it first came out. And I think it was because I was super hungry for more like Symphony of the Night-ish, you know? Yeah. And anyway, that's the one that was out. And like, I played a little bit of the other ones, but like, mostly it was that one. And I played the heck out of it. So, yeah. I mean, I realize that it's not the best one. So like nobody at me about that. It's not like I'm like, oh yeah, that was the best. No, it's just that happened to be the one that I played a lot. So
yeah, I wouldn't come down on you for that. Like it, I mean, that was a really compelling reason to own a Game Boy Advance. Mm-hmm. The fact that it just kind of came out with one of these, like it was unheard of that you would get a game that was kind of that full featured on a handheld like that. I mean, Aria of Sorrow. I mean, that was at a time that was my favorite game. Like that, just it's amazing. It's just I have gone back and touched these recently, and I was a little bit like, oh wow, this is way more basic than I remember it being. While still being fun. It's
and you know, like I think I'll probably end up still liking it anyway. It's kind of like the notorious case of Metroid Fusion, for example. Like you didn't like that one. I don't think Gary liked that either. Nobody liked that one except for me. And I think it's just because I just really wanted a Metroid and I had it and I played the hell out of it. And so like, you know, even all the frustrating stuff, I would just wanted Metroid. So, you know.
Is that the blue one?
Yes, that is the blue one.
I mean, I played and liked Metroid Fusion when it came out. It was one of the first games that I had on my Game Boy Advance.
Yeah, like I think probably if I went back and tried to play it now, I'd be like, nope.
Yeah,
I got other things to be doing. But although I did pre-order Metroid Dread, so you can expect me to be talking about that. I actually pre-ordered 3 games for this fall, guys. 3.
That's unusual for you.
It's so Metroid Dread. And what the heck? The Shin Megami Tensei, the next one of that, the 5th one of that, and then the Pokemon Diamond, whatever, re-release or whatever. Yeah. So and the thing is that Shin Megami Tensei comes out like the week before the Pokemon game. I'm like, okay, I have like a month between Metroid Dread and Shin Megami Tensei, but it's like, yeah. All right. I don't know how I'm going to be playing these exactly. Like, I'm going to get sucked into like 2 games and be playing them for the next year. So.
Yeah, that's fine.
Anyway, that's all. Sorry.
Yeah. Let's see, David. You posted 2 links, so I don't know how to obscurely throw to you. So I will just throw to you.
Sure, no problem. So the second one was just our talking of. Froggy was a silly video, but no.
That's funny. So
is...
this is Frog and Toad, not enemies. I know the person who made this, the person who owns the studio, the Too Tall.
Oh, really?
Yeah, no, it's they're based out of Columbus. I used to work with them. They were a designer that I worked with at the agency.
Cool.
Yeah,
that's really fun.
Yeah, they're amazing. They helped me make some of the best videos I ever made. Yeah, sorry. Continue.
Yeah. So less or more whatever is I couldn't actually find a news story, but what I did find is there's a really cool cosplay company called CutSew that makes patterns for cosplay. So pretty much any like anime style thing you can imagine, from like magical girl costumes to schoolgirl outfits for your dog to I don't know, pompadour tough guy outfits they make. But right now, their local animal shelter had a big fire, and so they're now having a raffle where if you donate, I think $10 to the shelter, you get in a raffle to win like $500 of credit towards the company.
Oh, neat.
So it's a good cause. So that's a thing.
Yeah.
Also, they have a adorable picture of a cat wearing one of their costumes. So,
that cat wants to murder whoever put them in that costume.
Oh yeah, without a doubt.
Cat confirmed.
Yeah. So this is on Instagram. It's at Hey Cut So. So Hey Cut and then SEW. If you're looking for the details, that's a good cause. I really hope that they manage to help out those good old critters.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And Ben, what's happening with the PS5?
Yeah, they made a revised PS5 model. It has very little difference than the launch model. Digital Foundry did testing on it, and it's basically the same. It's slightly lighter, and it uses a different heatsink. But they kind of buried the lead of this article, where at the end of it, they talked about PlayStation has come out and said that they will not be able to meet the demand of console sales through 2022 because of semiconductor shortage. So...
Oh no!
Snatch them up if you see them.
Yeah, well, I mean, and that's we haven't even begun to feel supply chain crunch on that kind of stuff. My tip: buy coffee. I've been buying coffee and sealing it with for long term stuff. Hard times coming.
I personally would go with ammunition.
Well, ammo is both expensive and it is never at the store. Oh God. Like even like practice rounds for going and shooting. Just like shitty ones. Nope, nothing.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. So I was hopeful when I saw the revision that Sony was gonna like change it in a way that would make them better able to put it out at scale, but no, that doesn't seem to be the case.
Yeah, unfortunately, I don't think you can get around like needing microchips.
Yeah. Well, I didn't mean to bum us out at the end there, but how do you all feel about buttoning it up?
I feel buttons.
The credit.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and go listen to September by Earth, Wind, and Fire. And go look up, just do a search for Earth, Wind, or do a search for September meme, the most recent video that guy makes. It's part of a fundraiser. They're raising money for a bunch of good causes, including Hurricane Ida relief, Sunrise Movement, etc. Lots of good climate and mutual aid kind of things. So go check that out and watch some good videos, would be my call to action there. Otherwise, thank you very much for listening. If you want to help us out, you know the avenues to do that: Facebook, ratings, reviews, Patreon, telling your friends, going to your local town halls and school board meetings, and shooting super stickers at QAnon people and saying you're doing it because of Duckfeed. Yeah, to say these people take responsibility for this. Yeah. Otherwise, though, am I forgetting anything? Anything big here? No.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I've been Kole. You can watch me stream. I do Chrono Cross during certain weekdays and horror games on the weekends. That is Twitch at Duckfeed.tv.
I'm David Mysmith. You cannot watch me stream because I don't know how to stream.
I'm Jala-chan in places.
I'm Ben Merkel, and you can see me in Cole's stream.
Yeah. He's usually there in chat.
Maybe that's the strategy.
And stick around for some titles. Okay, so I didn't write any down.
I didn't write any down either.
Okay.
Oh, I wrote down one. Does this mean this is the title?
Yes.
This might mean it's the title.
The one thing I wrote down was all the flopping I'm led to believe happens. It was said by Kole at one point, close to the beginning of the episode.
Cool. Well, there we go.
That's the title. Ta-da! Good job, Ben!
Wow.
Yay.
You know what they say, with minimal effort comes great responsibility.
This is why a two-party system is so great for the people. Man, limited choice. You can get anything through.
So much happens in a two-party system. Yeah. Okay. Well, there we go. So I'm gonna let Jala go. All of us. I am also sleepy now that I think about it. Yeah.
That's the secret. You just can't think about it.
Yeah, that's the thing. You're never tired till you stop. Cool. Well, thanks all of you. Have a good week.
Yeah, likewise.
Yeah. See you guys next week. Bye.
Yeah.
Talk to you guys later. Bye.